Hey everyone, welcome back to Missy's Enchanted Channel. Well, we're on chapter 14 on True Tales of Ghostly Encounters. I know I haven't did this in a while, but I've been sidetracked with, unboxings and all that. So I'm finally getting to it. So let's go. Let's get on with it. All right. Grandmother Spinet. I never thought much about the hereafter until the death of my grandmother, Bessie Donovan. She had been a strong woman, highly intelligent, and had raised a family of 6 children entirely on her own after the death of her husband, Ed. When her children were grown, they each went their own way, and grandmother was left alone. As she grew older and couldn't get around very well, grandmother often called on me for help. I worshipped her and enjoyed doing the small things she asked of me. One day in June 1970, she called me and said she wanted me to have her Spinet piano, and I was to take it right away. She insisted that I take it before she died, but she felt her children would not remember it was to be given to me. They would only take it and sell it, and I'll never get it to play it again, she said. My 12-year-old daughter, Angela, and I both play the piano well, and one or the other of us often played for grandmother in her home. I hated to move the piano, but grandmother insisted she knew best. Then suddenly, grandmother died, 3 days after we moved the piano. One morning, a few months after her death, I woke up about 4 o'clock thinking I heard someone playing the old rugged cross on the piano. I got out of bed quickly and fumbled my way to the dark front room. Without turning on a light, I went to the piano and touched the keys. They felt warm. Just then, Angela came in. Mother, the hymn sounded lovely, but what are you doing up so early? I had wondered if I had been dreaming, but Angela spoke. I suddenly understood what grandmother meant when she said, they would only sell it and I'll never get it to play again. And this is from Betty Arnold, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, May 1994. Interesting. I wonder if she knew that she was passing away because she gave the piano away. I think she did. Your thoughts in the comments, let me know. All right, now we move on to the trunk. Over the years, I reminded Dad of a pact we had made that whoever died first was to contact the other. On December 23rd, 1983, my brother Jack called from Oklahoma to tell me Dad had died. We had blizzards at home and in Oklahoma, so I did not go to the funeral. That night, I was playing cards with some friends of mine, Esther and Lou, when my cordless phone dialed itself. Esther and Lou were frightened, but I said Dad was letting me know that he could hear and see. He had been blind for 20 years and had recently lost his hearing. The next morning, the phone dialed itself twice before 2 other witnesses. They said it was a malfunction of that someone was using my wavelength to place long-distance calls. I reported this to the phone company, but no additional calls have been made. Because of the weather, Dad's funeral was not held until after the holidays. The day of the funeral, my phone rang frantically. Somehow, I sensed Dad was shouting to me, "Get the money out of the trunk. It is in the plastic in my brown suit." I called Jack and he told me that the Salvation Army was to pick up the trunk as soon as the weather cleared. I told Jack about Dad's message. There was dead silence. Awestruck, he said, "My God, I forgot all about that." When he could talk coherently, he explained that when Dad went into the rest home at age 90, he was upset because he had only a little money each month. So Jack gave him $75. Jack said he watched Dad wrap the money in plastic and put it inside his pocket of his suit and lock it in the trunk. He took the money from the trunk. My phone never dialed itself again. And that was Gertrude Hoyuk, Longmont, Colorado, September 1994. So he was saving the money and he kept his promise to get in touch with her. So that's good. Now we move on to Great Grandma's Bed. In 1975, I was 6 years old and living in Cebu City, the Philippines. My great grandmother, Benetta Romero, was blind and very ill. She lived with my family and her bed was in the kitchen so we could easily take care of her. She always wished that she had been able to see my youngest brother, Edwin Villanueva, I don't know. Peppino, who was there, who was 3, since she had become blind before he was born. One night, my Uncle Benjamin Villanueva Peppino, my Aunt Lorna Peppino, and I were preparing our dinner and telling jokes with Great-Grandma as we always did. I was the first to notice that Great-Grandma was not responding to our jokes. She was not breathing, only lying there very still in her bed. I told my uncle that Great-Grandmother was dead, but he didn't believe me until he checked for himself. The morning after Great-Grandma's funeral, my brother Edwin was found sleeping in her bed. I asked him what he was doing in her bed, and he told me that Great-Grandma had come into his room and carried him to her bed. This happened for 3 nights in a row until we went to Great-Grandmother's grave and prayed for her soul to rest in peace. Edwin never did return to Great-Grandma's bed. He slept peacefully in his own room. We believe Great-Grandma could finally see Edwin after she passed away. And that was Rowena Dayank, Whitehall, Wisconsin, September 1994. That was pretty interesting. Well, at least you got to see Edwin, right? All right, I'm going to read one more. The Shaking Bed. My maternal grandfather enjoyed playing the guitar and the mandolin. As his family grew, he built the Malaja home with his own 2 hands. He was always a self-reliant, independent sort. When he developed heart trouble, he ended his own life in a bout of depression. I was about 7 or 8 years old at the time of his death. When I reached my mid-20s after a hitch in Uncle Sam's army, I had occasion to stay with my great-grandmother for a short time in the home built by my grandfather. There was a large picture window in the living room that looked out upon the world. My grandfather had a swivel rocker placed in front of the window. This was the only chair he used in the living room. When I came to stay with my grandmother, the old swivel rocker had been replaced with an upholstery recliner, which sat pretty much in the same spot where Grandpa used to sit. Often in the evening after work, I would sit in the recliner and practice playing my guitar. Sometimes when I played better than usual, I would feel someone enter the room and watch me, yet I seemed to be alone. I just figured it was Grandpa and continued to play some of the older tunes I had learned until I tired of playing, or my fingers started to get sore. It was then I would set the guitar aside and kick back in the recliner. More often than not, I would soon feel a cold pressure on my lap, as if someone were sitting down on me. The coldness would go through my body, and then it would feel as if I were sitting on someone's lap instead of the chair. I assumed that I was again sitting on Grandpa's lap as I did when I was a child. The room I slept in was the master bedroom. As a young single man recently turned civilian, I enjoyed visiting the local taverns on Friday and Saturday nights. My grandmother, a devout Christian, very much disapproved of this behavior, and I guess Grandpa did too. Whenever I came home late, anytime after 10 o'clock was late to Grandma, and had even 2 drinks after work, the bed would begin to shake just as I was about to fall asleep. I snap awake, fully alert, and it would stop. Then again, just as I would begin to doze off, the bed would begin shaking a second time. Finally, I learned that if I said out loud, "Grandpa, I really need to get my sleep as I have to go to work in the morning. You know how a working man needs to his rest." The bed would not shake anymore, and I could sleep until morning. But this worked only if I did indeed have to work the following day. If not, the bed would shake me awake up to 10 or 12 times during the night. One time I really had too much to drink. I arrived home after closing the bars down and went straight to bed. Before dropping off to sleep, the bed felt as if it was spinning. Knowing that I was about to get sick, I got up and headed for the bathroom. I had left the bedroom door open, as it was winter, to allow the heat to enter my room. It was dark, and not wanting to stir Grandma down the hall, I didn't bother with a light. I walked smack into the closed bedroom door. I opened the door and headed for the bathroom. When I returned, I bumped into the closed bedroom door again. I got into my bed, and it began to shake more violently than ever as soon as I lay down. I sat up, and the shaking stopped. I could see Grandpa standing at the foot of the bed, arms crossed. "Watch me," I said. "Grandpa, I've had too much to drink tonight, and I'm sorry to be coming home drunk. I've had a lot on my mind lately, and I tried to drink it all away." That didn't work, and this will never happen again. And it didn't. It was then that I saw him uncross his arms and smile at me, shake his head, and walk out of the room. I was able to sleep peacefully the rest of the night, and that was the last time I ever actually saw him. One day I asked Grandma if she ever felt Grandpa's presence. Many times, she said, but she especially noticed that he was near when she laid down on the sofa to take a nap. It was then that she felt invisible fingers combing through her hair and heard Grandpa's voice softly calling her name. She said that she knew that he was always watching over her and that he was just waiting until it was time for her to join him so that they would be together again. Grandma passed on 2 years later, so I guess they are together again now. Grandma and Grandpa, too, I guess, finally accepted that I would have a few drinks once in a while. Grandma even said that, according to the Bible and Grandpa, a little bit of wine or whiskey was actually good for a person. So as long as I stayed away from beer and limited my whiskey to 5 drinks or less, I could get a restful sleep. But if I even had a slight buzz when I returned home, Grandpa would keep me awake half the night shaking the bed. Okay, I like that one for the fact that, you know, he was just trying to help him out because, you know, he didn't want him to get drunk or anything. So he was just being the good grandpa that he was supposed to. That was cute. And that's Kevin Gardner, Clay City, Indiana, June 2000. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Like I said, when I'll probably start it at the end of September. I have another book if this one isn't done, but we'll continue with this one after. I think that one's like a gothic book, and it has like a lot of scary stories in it, so I'll try that one, you know, around September, the end of September. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. As always, please subscribe, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days. See you later. Mwah. Stay safe.